And I'm live with Her Majesty Queen Marcia of Chile.
Yeah.
We're joined by Sanna as well. And we're going to have a... we're going to start with trying to work out Marcia's sociotype. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it sort of stage by stage. And sort of gently does it. And so we'll look at how she relates to these definitions of the functions. Now, these were created by Jack Aaron as separate elements, and I sort of stitched them together. So I will give him some praise for having written these. Now, what he did in the SI one here, for the introverted sensation, is he originally wrote relaxation twice. And so that really is suggestive introverted sensing on his part. So before we get to that, we'll have a little advert. So not only is Sanna artistic, there is a painting there that she actually sold to Marcia. And she has it on the wall. And a random picture of Jonathan. So another painting by Sanna. And then I will then... Oh, it's just exploded! It just disappeared, the browser. The browser in that the image browser, I'll just get it back. It blew up. Right, and then so that's one by Sanna. There's another one by Sanna. And another one. And there's Sanna's holding. And this is a piece of artwork by Marcia. So I'm wondering if people might think, oh, she's a happy personality. But look at that little bit of darkness around that chunk. Maybe there's like a dark inner core. So we'll get to now we'll get to the functions after messing around a bit. So we'll have a look at yeah, I suppose they're opposed. Yeah, you got FE, you got TE versus FE, TI versus FI, NI versus SI, NE versus SE. So we can sort of do it column by column, or however you would like to contrast them. So having a look in that square, and I'll zoom in on the square so that we're all on the same page. Oh, we might as well do it like this then. Right, so if we look at the square on the left, the TE square, what do you think about those words? Are they things that sort of like, I'll let you take it in, like going between the two, what is the most important to you?
Between these two squares?
Yeah, in terms of like, it's almost as if taking in all of those words and thinking about how important you think these things are, how much you value them. And then looking at the other square and sort of asking the same question as thinking, okay, how important is this to me?
Basically, do they appeal to you?
Right. Yeah, just looking by this, I absolutely get more attracted to the introverted logic, even though I need extroverted logic. And I can be sometimes good on that. I do prefer the introverted logic. I like a lot classification, structure, analysis. The others, yeah, consistency, order also.
I'll just ask one thing about classification, because I might argue that if you are using a classification system that you have learnt from somebody else, that you've learnt from a textbook, just basically a classification system that is external to you,
not necessarily.
There can be a little bit of a extroverted thinking aspect to that.
When I was reading classification, I was just thinking on myself, like.
Right, that's your thing. That is your key thing.
classify things in an environment like, let's say I got my lab, so I just sort out things and do a classification and create some classification.
Right.
Really.
That's the key thing. I think the TI people, they're coming up with their own classifications rather than applying one that they've learnt as like a tool, the way an extroverted thinking type would.
Right.
Except you told me that it depends on the position, dimensionality. Because you, for example, told me that that in for IEI, I don't really come up with my own systems. I'm just open to other people's input.
That's a good point. But you might classify things not so much with TI, but with intuition. Do you think you might have some sort of intuitive categories?
Yeah.
And what is that like?
Doesn't everyone?
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, I don't know. Is it like what? Because it's such a hard function, NI, because it's partly unconscious. I'm just wondering, do you have a sort of categories that are sort of, it's not really in a TI sense, but sort of like areas that you might.
Okay, what I have is a vague outline of how things relate together.
Right. Can you explain a bit about that?
It's more like the general. It doesn't go into detail unless I'm specifically learning the detail. And it's kind of abstract. It's not something that I can necessarily articulate unless, again, it's a topic that I have studied. But it's just like a mental map, I suppose.
What are the things that you are usually categorizing? Are they people related?
No, it's everything.
Oh. So, such as?
That's a very...
Well, everything to you might be different from everything to somebody else.
I don't really know. I think I'm just...
because it's everything that you do.
I just cared about accuracy, being precise and not... Like, if it's in this category, then don't claim that it's in that category type of...
Right. Okay. So with you, yeah, that's one of the things when we get to NE, that's a little bit of an extroverted sensing thing versus an extroverted intuition thing, but we don't want to get too distracted. The TI rider is in control of the NE horse. So, yes, putting things, categorizing and defining things. Right. Do you think quite a bit about definitions, Marcia? Even when you don't have to?
I don't get the... You mean if I just want to know definitions?
Well, I mean, it's sort of like, well, what an LII will do, TINX, is they will think about definitions because they're interested in definitions. So, for example, I will think about what do the functions really mean and things like that. Sanna might also do that, and other people might do that because it's the subject that they are interested in, and it's part of the subject. I'm wondering if that you will do that about many different things, thinking about the definitions of things, or is it just particular to?
Yeah, no, I don't think I work a lot with definition. I just use it when I need it. But I think it's like a change from the last years when I started to understand that some things cannot be defined. I started to avoid definitions. But I should say that before, yes, I used to like definitions to understand the things. Yeah, but now, just checking my entire life, I think I get more definition from stories or examples more than the words, like putting words one concept that is like a kind of easy to get right. I do prefer to have the idea and not the definition. Yeah. I don't know if I explain myself.
So is it more a case of you want to go from your experience rather than from, say, thinking deductively from a premise and thinking about how that premise is defined?
Yes. It's like, for example, someone want to define what is truth. And okay, so, and I don't understand well the definition in the dictionary unless I think in someone very, honorable, and that this person say the truth all the time. So I was thinking in introverted logic.
It's amazing how many words there are in the dictionary that define different degrees of lying. There's like dissembling, where you're not quite, where you're sort of like, it's like you don't want to tell an outright lie. There's like prevaricating, which is like being evasive. And then there's somebody being disingenuous, which is like where they pretend not to know something. And then there's being using words with sort of double meanings, to sort of like where they give people a false impression, but they have plausible deniability. And then there's ESTPs that can just come out and tell a straight lie, and people believe them because, well, they're frank, they're straightforward in their speech, so they assume that they're a straight talker. But you see, they have the nerve to be able to tell a bold-faced lie.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different kinds of lie, of bending of the truth, and so all of those things are actually part of real life.
And also part of the stories, as I said. For example, if let's say, if I want to understand what a trickster means, I just get it from the story of the cat with boots.
I don't know that. What did you get out of that story?
This cat that wear boots, that is like the story of the cat that he got. He was like a inheritance from father to the son, and the cat was like very, very smart. The one in Shrek, this cat. And he started to do tricks to get the owner get a castle at the end of the story.
Sanna, are you familiar with this?
Sorry, what? What was the question?
I don't know what you're doing there. You're playing a game again?
I was actually looking for something, but I can't find it.
Yeah, she was talking a story about a cat. I don't know if it doesn't ring any bells with me.
It's called Puss in Boots.
Ah, right, Puss in Boots. Right,
Yes.
I can't remember the story. I think it's sometimes used as a pantomime in England.
Right. So this was other example that I don't like definitions unless I need to use them.
Right.
I prefer better maybe metaphors or stories or even experience to define things. So in a way, it's like more a personal definition.
Yeah, that's Yeah, that might be an NF thing coming in there, because Kersey had the thought process of NFs as, what did he have? The reference was metaphorical, the sequence was inductive. Oh no, that's it. The usage was metaphorical. The sequence was inductive, and the reference. The reference was prophetic in terms of the focus being on the future. Yeah, but probably more towards the NFJs. So with these things, if you were to interact with somebody, would you rather talk to somebody who would talk the language on the left, or would talk the language on the right? So TI talk or TE talk, what would be more appealing to you?
I think for the rest of the people, I like to use the language on the left.
Ah.
Yeah.
What appeals to you about that?
I think the people likes more, or they value more the language, the left. Let's say efficiency, productivity, information, and evidence. Actually, because I am a scientist too, I need to use this word or convince other people about ideas. You know.
Do you think that the things on the right in the white square are useful tools to achieve those kind of things on the left? So, for instance, somebody might follow a principle or analyze something in order to try to get to a certain result. Now, quite a lot of this is going to be part of your scientific training, because that's how they pretty much teach it, as like, this is the theory and help you to understand and get to this practical result. So it's almost like the theory is being used as a tool, because it's like based towards a practical outcome.
Yeah.
So
yeah, what I think is yes, analysis is required to get a result.
yeah.
But I think that all the analysis structure and deduction. But what I think when I just imagine this is that why the square take a lot of time. Then you can achieve the black square.
Right.
But this is like the final thing, like the outcome. However, I personally, in my life, even though I speak with the black square, I get really happy. I enjoy a lot the white square, and sometimes I get stuck on that and don't reach the black one.
With ENFP, which is a type you could resemble, the way they are supposedly TI break is different from the way ESFP is TI break, because with ESFP you can really see how.
Hang on, Ben. I don't know if she knows what break means.
Oh yeah, it's like the weakest function in a
Right.
type. It's sort of like it's also called the vulnerable function, or in another model it would be called like the Beebe. In the Beebe model, it would be called like the trickster function.
Model A polar.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Sanna. So what I'm sort of getting at is that with ESFP, because they're a sensing type and they don't like the TI, it's like they're against sort of like most stuff that's theoretical, because it's like, unless unless it's like tangible and has a concrete outcome, they're not interested in it, and they like to learn hands-on. Now, theoretically, ENFP is also TI polar, but they are an abstract type. They lead with extroverted intuition as well, and they can learn a lot of things by finding connections between the thing that they're learning and their previous knowledge. So it's almost as if they can understand, say we call the new subject B and the old subject A, they can understand B in terms of A because they can see the connections. And so that can be a bit of a workaround. And just from my experience with ENFPs, it actually seems that their actual understanding of logic and usage is pretty much okay. What I'm sort of getting the idea, and then I was recently looking at the charges. I think what ENFP is bad at with TI is TI minus is in the box, but what it really means they're bad at is the opposite side of that, which is TI plus. And apparently TI plus is sticking to a rigid structure and coming up with your own structure and sticking to it. You want to say something, Sanna?
LSI and ILI, I think, as well as ILE. So
yeah, especially ILI and especially LSI. And
the LSI is the most obvious, I think.
So it's that's the kind of TI that ENFP is bad at. The LSI kind of TI.
Basically the decisive kind, the one that reaches a conclusion and then it doesn't budge unless you have specific evidence to change the system.
But also the way Victor conceives of it, Victor sees TI plus as really rigid, and like it sees one answer and only one answer is right.
It does come off that way. And then it's a matter of personal maturity, how flexible they actually are.
Right. So I'm going to ask you a question now, Marcia, about coming up with your own structure and organizing something. You're sort of like coming up with your own system and like sticking to it versus being able to follow somebody else's system. What do you find easier?
Yeah, creating my own system. Actually, I started my own lab and I created a system to make the lab work. So it was a lot of web pages that give some examples about how to manage this lab, thinking like a company. And then I started to check on this and I stopped it because I was thinking I will get contaminated from other ideas, and I do prefer to create my own system. So I did it and I think it's working, and I got email like a couple of days ago about an article in Science, how PI, principal investigator, young PIs, should manage the laboratory. And I start to check, all the points, and I realized that I got almost all the points done in my system. So, but which I think is good, but I refuse to check ideas from others when I want to create systems.
Right, it's very tricky. I mean, it can be very tricky to sort of see the TI polar and ENFPs because they have like other workarounds where it can sort of like do the same thing. And so in your case, I'm finding it tricky to see the difference. So Sanna, what is your opinion as to what Marcia prefers out of these two functions, T and TI?
Well, mine is based on experience with her.
Yeah.
She was telling me about this the way she comes up with a scientific hypothesis that I thought was very NE, that I think might be related to how she builds a system. Because she said that she can see the connections between various different things that other people can't.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're talking about the same kind of system building.
Well, if you could, I mean, either you or Marcia, if you tell us about that example, then the audience can sort of categorize it for themselves.
Yeah, it's like I'm working with something, and then I get used to this something. Let's say, well, I work with development, so I work and check how animals develop, right? Okay, so I got with some ideas, and then these ideas come from like myself, not following others. It's just as I got, I'm just working and appear ideas in my mind. And then when I just share these ideas, people get really surprised about these ideas are very new, like original ideas.
Yeah.
And sometimes I had to confess, I got ideas because I kind of get some connections from other systems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also happened because I was doing the Jungian course, yeah, the diploma in Jungian psychology. So every time that the professor wanted to explain, let's say, individuation process, or the process of forming the conscious from the unconscious, and then this, I was kind of just having these ideas from the point of view of biology. And I started to think like the stem cell niche, and then the differentiation for the process of individuation, or the process of like you born unconscious, and then the conscious appear from the unconscious, yeah, and then the conscious put some elements in the unconscious, so you get in a way this separation, and then with the time the conscious get close to the unconscious or to the core of the self. So for that I was doing some experiments in which I was cutting the organ primordium, an organ, and I was cutting this in 3 and get the function, and at the end was much better cutting an organ than get all the organ together from the point of view of function. So I was thinking, okay, why we need all this process of separation and integration? And I just get, of course, because it's like the organ, when you separate the parts and then the parts get together, you get more than when you have everything working together from the, I don't know if it was a good example, but yeah, so it's like things that are like appearing from other experience, and also from my own, experience with a model.
Right.
Yeah. Sounds like
Yeah.
NP and
Yeah, I was just thinking about
an I at the same time.
yeah, there's a lot of NE going on there, and I like the NE. Just click on Sanna's reaction there. Yes, Ben, we don't need to be told that. Yeah, I mean, this is something we can return to later, but we definitely got, you are an abstract person, you have strong any. We can get to a couple of other. And then when you were talking about metaphor as well, so there is quite a bit of NF maybe in there as well. Oh, I made a mistake. I need to go over here.
But
so
find the ladybug. Find the ladybug.
Find the lady.
Yeah, the ladybug in the picture of the parrots.
Oh, you want to see? You want to see? Find the ladybird.
Yeah, lady bug. How is the name of the ladybug? Ladybug. I don't even know.
Oh, ladybug. Yeah, there's a ladybug.
Yeah.
A ladybird.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What in this picture somewhere?
Yep.
Oh, you're putting these little Easter egg things in.
Yes.
She wanted it.
Ah. Yeah, but see, that's a great little talking point because you can show that to your friends and say, "Oh, can you see the little ladybird in this picture?"
That was what she told me. That was the
okay. I'll give you some more any points.
Well, you just don't saw the ladybird. Okay.
So here's a thing about so we can see what's being contrasted here. So here I'd like to ask you about, because you're probably doing both. What I'm sort of going to ask you is about, so you'll think both, but which ones do you do? So I'll give you a comparative situation. So TINX, LII, INTP, they will think about a lot of TE things, but they don't do it. So I'm wondering, out of these two, you're going to think about both of them, but which one do you do and which one do you ignore?
Or which one do you use to support the other?
Yeah, I think I use the black triangle. Yeah.
I concur.
But I use the black triangle. But when I am with other people, I start to use probably this black triangle. Let's say I speak about theories and I got really excited, and I also like this absurdity freedom. Yeah. I was working with INFP the other day, and we started to do like a musical of what we were living in the streets. So we started to sing and creating songs about all the shops we were passing by. And so it was so cool and was freedom and very absurd. Yeah. And possibilities and innovation potential. Yeah. All these things that I kind of get. Yeah, I like them and I get in that. Also intrigue with other people. But maybe when I am alone, I get more into the white triangle.
Right.
A lot into imagination. I don't get a lot of reflection memory. I don't think if this is related to the past, but I got something that I kind of forgot everything in my past. It's so difficult to me to get into the past. Always when I am doing nothing and leave my mind flow, it goes to the future or some imagination. Yeah, not to the past, not memories. It's difficult to me to get to remember something from the past.
Sanna, are these the words that are in these shapes? Are they right for conventional socionics? Are you happy with these words in the triangles?
Well, I think imagination applies to both. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't put that in just NI.
I think what I would say for the imagination, I think that it's maybe imagining a particular remote goal that they're sort of going towards, or they can see somebody else that they can develop into. So a different kind of imagination from the NE kind of imagination, where they're imagining lots of different possibilities and things that could happen. Whereas the imagination of in there, it's sort of like it's looking into the future, kind of imagining a certain future kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that it should be written in both boxes.
Yeah, I agree. But
Written at all.
I was just trying to differentiate the kind of imagination between the two.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I said. I think it's I mean, it's going to be specific difference for both, but
Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give a little bit of an explanation between how about why at times these two things can be opposed in terms of actions. So if you have somebody like Sanna or Enrique, somebody who is an NI Dom, they usually have a goal that they want to move towards. Now, especially when it's with NI with TE, in the case of ILI, NITX, Strategic Contender, INTJ in Briggs Kersey.
All right, thank you.
That they know how to get to a certain result through practical steps. And so everything is being run through the filter of TE. So they might have these ideas that pop into their head, and it's like, is it profitable? No. Put it in the bin. So it's like it all gets filtered out, and they stick to that goal, and they're good at the long range planning. So internally, so from an external point of view, you'd think, oh, their NE's rubbish. They're not. It's not, but they don't tell you their ideas. It's like they just come up with the idea and throw it away because they're not interested in, say, creating an image of somebody who's like very creative and full of ideas, the way ENTP is. As soon as an ENTP gets an idea, they want to tell you about it to impress you. Whereas with INTJ might do that if you know them well. So you're not really so internally they're going to have a lot of ideas. They just ignore it if it's not profitable, if it doesn't pass the TE test of being useful, and also towards getting towards a certain goal. Now I don't know how that is with INFJ. So how is it with you, Sanna? Why do you sort of push certain any things to the side? What is your filter for filtering it out?
I think because the goal is the most important part of it, and any is supplementary. Like first of all, if I don't have a goal, then I have to find one. So that's when any comes in. Or if I need to modify something, or if I need to basically if I hit any kind of a problem, then I need the NE to work to find a way around it. But it's not for its own sake. I don't get a lot of pleasure from any of those things, really. Maybe, well, potential is something I focus on a lot. But novelty, I'm not really into. Like, it doesn't give me the kind of hit that will make me want to seek it out. So it's all in support of the goal.
I can give a sort of an example to sort of differentiate between the mindsets. So I think for the NE, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's like for them, it's not really about the destination. It's about how interesting is the journey to that destination.
I think it's more like, is this like making me have fun or not. So it's like, woohoo!
Well, that's what I mean. It's like a fun journey. So one of the things that has been said about Douglas Adams, now he was very aware that a lot of people say that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that it's about the journey rather than the destination. Although he said himself that he had to do a lot of damage to the plot in order to make it continuously funny. So, and he has actually written, because I've read interviews with him when he was interviewed for the Doctor Who The Unfolding Text, which was an academic book that came out in 1983, and they were talking about his role as a script editor on Doctor Who. So when he really had to, he could do like the TI plus rigid structure thing, but his preference would be to like float around from topic to topic to go towards the most interesting thing. Whereas I think with NI, that's a little bit more like the arc plot of that is the super objective. And this is how we get towards that super objective by going through various obstacles. And going through those obstacles, that's like the SE part, the extroverted sensing part. Getting through these obstacles and challenges to get to that goal. Is that fair to say, Sanna?
Yeah. I should also point out that you never actually reach the goal because the goal is also moving. It's more like this guiding light that you're going towards.
That is a good point. And even the SPs get that as well. It's like once they've achieved success, say in sport, it's like, well, what's next? I've won the Super Bowl. What do I do next? What's the next mountain to climb?
Yeah.
It's like that old expression, they have climbed their Everest. What do you do once you've climbed Everest?
Yeah, I think NI always wants to have it's like this purpose, like this is why I'm living, to go towards that thing.
Right. Whereas this is an example where you have the NI, which is with the extroverted sensor, because it's like to get to a certain goal, it has to go through challenges. Whereas with the NE, that's blocked with the SI, and so it's more with, well, what's the fun way of getting there? However, with ENFP, they are so much about their freedom. If people try to confine their freedom, they will stand up for themselves and resist and do a sort of super ego shift where they act a little bit like ESTP when they are defending their own freedom. If somebody is like trying to control them too much, they will rebel and go into just a little bit of an ESTP mode.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I picked up in the Galenko. If people go to wikisocion.net, type in IEE, go to the profiles, and then the first profile on there will be something like IEE by Galenko. Click on that, and it's like 7 pages. Well, when I printed it out, it was 7 pages on the IEE, and there was lots of stuff in there about them being rebellious when it's like, because they really cherish their freedom. So it's like they're the most SP of the NFs. And that's basically it's EP themes, flexible, active, and wanting to have the freedom. And so, and a lot of EPs will have Enneagram 7 themes. So many EPs will relate to 7. Right, so we've sort of gone through there how those two things can be at odds. Oh, well, another reason why extroverted intuition isn't as confrontational in going through an obstacle, because they'll just look at something and go, I don't need to go through it, I can just go around it, because they don't see the different options. So so it's not like that's the goal and I'm going to run through you to get at it, and I'm going to run through walls to get at that goal. It's like, well, they might even so frequently, Marcia, do you have a goal and then we'll change the goal and actually like maybe change about, it's not worth it, I'll switch to that other one? The sort of flexibility of thinking. I wonder how much you change your goals.
Yeah, the thing is that kind of don't think in goals. It's more like yeah, as I said, it's a goal to have fun, but
Right.
I'm not changing the goals. I'm just trying to get these goals. But what I have is several things at the same time, doing several things at the same time. And when I get too much, I just said, okay, let's fix this in 5 and not more, because I am not able to handle all the things at the same time.
Okay, so I'm definitely putting you in the NE box. So you're in the NE box.
Okay, yeah.
You're in the NE category, and I think you're fair with that, aren't you? You're happy with that, aren't you, Sanna? Saying NE value and.
Oh, I told you I typed her already.
Right. Okay.
I'm just waiting for you to see if you agree.
Yeah. The only thing that's tricky for me is the TE and the TI thing for me, but I think the other ones will be a lot.
We might have to look at NE with thinking to figure that one out.
Yeah, but we can sort of go over that at the end if we go through all of these blocks.
I will take out my crown. It's too heavy.
You see, SI comfort. SE value would just ignore that. Well, that's according to the theory, but you know they feel things too. So we'll look at the. Okay, we'll go back to the judging function because I'll end up forgetting otherwise, and then we'll go back to the event. Oh, there's a little bit of the old KDE there. I miss KDE 4.
This is going to be interesting because she's definitely strong at both of them.
That's the thing with ENFP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a little bit of theory, and it's actually something that's in the Kersey ENFP profile. So, and this is something that happened with Yelena yesterday because she's ENFP resembler. And when we went through the cards, she basically chose the 4 cards over the 7 cards, and she would choose the 4 cards quickly. But I brought up the theme again that as an NF, the ENFP wants acceptance and approval, but they also want to be authentic. So we can say that the acceptance and approval is like their creative, Gilenko creative, extroverted feeling, a sort of a powerful, unvalued function. And the FI is related to their being authentic.
Well,
I will mention relations as well.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that I don't know if extroverted feeling is automatically looking for approval. Because it's mostly the ability to, I mean, that may come from the NF part.
Yeah, and it's a good point you make there because Enneagram instincts, especially in your case, Sanna, you identify as social last.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, maybe it's, but do you want approval and acceptance for your E4 abilities?
Well, here's how I see it. God damn it! I had a point and then I just blanked out completely as I was trying to start explaining it. So approval. Okay, now I remember. When it comes to being aware of the emotional dynamics, whether it has to do with other people approving me, or me approving of them, or somebody affecting somebody's emotions, any of the FE themes. Reason I care about it is because if somebody's unhappy, I'm going to feel it and it's going to affect me. So it's kind of a, I don't have to care about the person to want to fix the issue. And same goes for approval. I will feel it if they don't approve, and I don't like it.
So that's an example of how extroverted feeling can be seen as objective. As an objective, it's a thing that you're picking up on that's outside of you, making you feel a certain way.
Yeah, it's information out there that I can't unsee.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, it can definitely lead to wanting approval. but there is a distinction, TI distinction.
So how about with your close one-on-one relationships? Do you want acceptance and approval from that person?
Yes, because it's, but it often comes through conflict and resolving the conflicts and reaching a new level of understanding.
Oh, these beta quadra power games.
It's not power games, it's just having issues and working through them.
Yeah, but I bet you find it fun as well, though.
Well, maybe you don't do that, yeah.
No, that's beta quadra stuff.
I have done this with, actually, I can't say that I have because I'm not sure about this one person's type. But I would imagine that it's more or less universal to learn to communicate in a relationship and resolve issues.
I think that INTP females and INFP females, so TINX and FINX, LII and EI, they're particularly put off by the power games of beta quadra.
Yeah, probably, which is funny because I wasn't even talking about power games. Like, I really wasn't. I was only talking about when somebody's upset, for example.
Yeah, it's just that when you said about the people close to you and then conflict.
By conflict, I mean when you have a fight or somebody has hurt feelings, usually me, you know, and then you start communicating to resolve the situation. That's what I meant by conflict.
But Sanna, you're somebody who's like very much about the emotions. So how can you have hurt feelings if you're like so much like towards the extroverted feeling? Because Ben, I resemble INFP and MBTI.
Wait, what? What's the question?
Because I was sort of saying, well, how come you have hurt feelings if you're so much about the feelings coming from outside of you? So, but then I remembered.
I am not very difficult to hurt if you're close to me.
Right.
I'm very sensitive in that situation.
Right. So, okay. So, for ENFP, theoretically, they are like... So, ENFP and ESFP, this is a really good function for actually showing how effective the creative function can be because FE is so noticeable. You will notice that ESFPs and ENFPs are very expressive people and that they use the FE, especially in the case of ESFP, to direct attention upon themselves, to show how awesome they are in the case of ESFP, and maybe in the case of ENFP. Well, they do also want attention, but also they can use it to help, to sort of help people along with their cause. And so this is why Kersey said that they frequently enact the role of champion, as in somebody who advocates something. So there will be, so usually part of the stereotype of the ENFP is that they can get wound up in advocating certain causes, sorry. And if they do get into that mode, they really shouldn't become a journalist. You know, because you're supposed to be unbiased as a journalist. Just saying that to the ENFPs out there. If you're going into journalism, be unbiased, be balanced, and be a great journalist. Don't be advocating. All right. So there was a predisposition there to advocate things, and I suppose they want to bring people along to their cause. But that's not something that's really integral to the type. That's just something that a sort of role they can fall into. I suppose what is integral to the type is they might be expressive in wanting to spread what they are interested in. But I also think that in terms of what they want, ENFP is very people focused. And so maybe they're going to use expressivity just to help in making connections with people. How do you think the ENFP uses FE, Sanna? And then we can go over to Marcia.
I think it comes, well, in the case of Marcia, it kind of comes through everything she does. she's always enthusiastic. Even if she's currently unhappy, she's going to be expressive. It's just how she is. I mean, look at her.
Yeah, but is this expressive by South American standards? I mean, what are the ILIs like in South America?
Oh, they're probably in hell.
They're probably expressive with their sarcasm and like their negative FE.
Yeah, we should find one, honestly.
Yeah, I bet they're really sarcastic and do not hide how they feel at all. And it's like,
but yeah,
whereas,
I think FE is very, very obvious in her. Socionics FE specifically, also MBTI FE, but Socionics FE in this case is it's just always there.
yeah,
More so than with me, because I can withdraw and not be expressive at all, but she doesn't seem to do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That yeah, it's like Sanna really has to be on her territory before she does the FE thing.
I do have to be comfortable to some degree. I don't just go out in the world and FE the hell out of it.
No. Yeah, you're more you're not the FE subtype of.
I don't think so.
You're more like the TI subtype or NI
Is there
subtype.
a TI subtype?
Well, there is, but it's a bit weird because it's the way Victor does it as like quite rigid, and it would be like the normalizing subtype, and that's a little bit at odds with the Enneagram Type 4.
Okay.
So
I don't know about that yet. I hope.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky with DCNH with the normalizer. I did suggest in one hangout, like if Victor came up with normalizing to sort of like the fact that we have to categorize all these SJs that are there, and so they have to get put in the normalizing bucket because they are there, and they might not be there logically by the way the functions are defined in Socionics, but they are there. At least these normalizing people are there who are very conventional.
That's true.
But as I've said before, or maybe not this clearly, that an MBTI ISTJ will probably be typed in Socionics as sort of like a reserved LSE, and the same with, and I suppose an MBTI ISTP would be typed as maybe a reserved SLE. Whereas SLI, LSI, and ESI are types unto themselves. And so that's why they get the yellow graphics on my playlists, because they are not equivalent. They get put right at the end. They are
as happy as I am about you making going against your desire, having them equivalent, I think there's still a little bit of leeway with all the types.
Yeah,
you have to look at somebody specifically.
Yeah, and their Enneagram as well. But yes, you're right, the specific cases and all the non-type factors. So we had a situation yesterday with, and this is relevant, this is with Yelena, another ENFP resembler. But so she was born, and she said this publicly, so I can say this again, it was all recorded. So she was born in Serbia. She went to Canada at age 5 and learnt French and English in Canada, and then she moved to Germany. And Germany has a very 3-ish culture. I would argue it's more 3 than the United States. I only think the United States is 3 in certain contexts. And I think these Enneagram people overdo it in stating how 3 the United States is, because the kind of people that they come into, i.e. people rich enough to afford their services, have got a strong 3. I personally think the United States is a self-indulgent E7 culture.
Okay, shall we get back to topic?
Yes, back to topic.
But that was okay. I like it. What he was saying.
Yeah, but you said that you have an hour and a half.
Ah, right, yes. Sorry about that. Yeah, intuition of timing. Right, so
Thank you,
so yeah, looking at these two things, so so we're of the general opinion that you use both. But what is the most important to you?
I don't know if I use both, but I like the.
Well, come on, you are exuberant, aren't you? Are you saying that you're not exuberant? Are you not exciting? Are you not merry?
I like the black one. I like a lot black one, but I don't know about the white one.
That's an interesting point there, because, yeah, sorry to interrupt. I'm just going to make a point about, it's almost as if with the ENFP, if they knew about typology, it's like, darn my introverted feeling. It's setting parameters on my ability to have fun.
Yeah, but I just get a lot of.
I want to be like ESTP, just
like
do what the hell I like.
I like drama, and yeah, I don't know. I'm getting confused now, but yeah, when I'm just thinking that when I am with other persons and everything is a bit boring, and start to put things to get emotion and drama and to put passion. Let's say I play with things. Okay, I hide the shoes of someone who, or the bag, or just
Ooh, if you say too many things like that, I'll put you in the ENTP category.
Okay. Oh, I start to make jokes, and then I kind of say, I start to say stories about what I did, but with a different tone of voice, so I kind of get attention, and then everybody know that it's a joke.
Right. Okay, so my theory is going to be, if somebody's an E7 ENFP or resembles that, then the amount of FI is going to be less. And so the main thing that they're going to want to do is they want to do all the E7 stuff. And it's just certain times they'll get that FI voice where it's like, no, it's like there are parameters. There are certain things that they will and will not do, but it's like the main thing is they're having the fun. So it's almost like the E7 ENFP is a little bit more NE than FI. They're not as, they're more, it's almost as if they're more EP than NF, the Enneagram 7 ENFP. And so their FI, or the things that we associate with FI, it's gonna, and there is a difference between the MBTI FI, which sort of gets a complex equivalence with values. Right, I'm just going to tell the audience a bit now how ethics of relations works.
Right.
Ethics of relations is based on a feeling of connection with somebody, and it is a subjective feeling of connection. And people can connect over various things. With the NFPs, they tend to connect over shared values, and they will base sort of like the psychological distance, the status of the relationship based on how they feel about the relationship. Whereas with somebody like Sanna, she might be going off the emotions around that. So what is it like for you, Sanna? How do you judge the distance of a relationship?
I think it's a combination of FI and NI. I feel, and some, I mean, NE as well, because I feel the essence of the relationship, and then I compare it to where we are now, and then after that comparison, I know what needs to be done to fulfill the potential.
Yeah, it can get tricky because FI is ethics of relations is a powerful creative, unvalued creative function in IEI. Because I've recently made some notes of that, because we'll do it in future so these are my little notes for the whiteboard of IEI, and I'll be doing that on my own, that one, won't I, Sanna? Right. Right. People will get this joke in future, all will become clear. So it's very subjective, FI. So you can have, say, somebody who is a fan of somebody, they meet someone. They're gonna think that they're closer to the person than they actually are, because they're confusing what they think the status of the relationship is with how they feel about that person that they're a fan of. And so FI can be a very powerful function when the person is in a sort of unbiased position.
Yeah, that is required.
Yeah. And so an NLP term for this from Annie Linden would be fair witness position, where it's like they're able to put their own feelings aside and sort of judge like the ethics of it. Whereas you know what it's like, Sanna, with like the people who have strong FI, where sometimes their own feelings can just cloud the issue.
Oh, I've done that.
Oh,
Plenty. So
Yeah.
I know what it's like from the inside.
Yeah, that's NF problems. Because like, I have mixed feelings about FI. I think it's really important when it's not there. It's like, that's a really important piece. I want to put that back. That's essential to the workings.
It's a matter of personal growth, I think, for an NF to become aware of their own bias and to be able to compensate for it.
Yep. Yeah, and so that would be what I would, and I would like to do this in future, like, because we have levels of development for Enneagram. I would like to see levels of development for the functions, and Dario did that a little bit in his book, where 8 Keys to Self-Leadership, this one, where he talked about misuse of a function and then developed use of a function. So that's good stuff. And even if the functions don't exist, the skills associated with them do, and those skills can be improved. So at the very least, the functions are a useful lie.
So can I point out how I think she uses FI?
Oh yes.
I think her FI comes mostly because Marcia has this. I don't know if you're happy about me saying this, but she has very strong people-pleasing tendencies.
what?
People-pleasing tendencies. You want to please people. You want them to. You don't want to upset anybody.
Ah.
Right. So
Yeah,
I put that in the FE bucket. I would put that in the FE bucket.
Well, it definitely uses a lot of FE.
Yeah.
But it comes down to, is it really FE or is it just how you use the FE information? That was the distinction I was trying to make in the beginning.
Go on then, give us some more details on that, because I think this would be
right.
Good.
Well, I think Marcia falls a lot into the like she wants
to be loved.
Yes. Yes, she and you want to you want the approval, and you will kind of
chameleon myself.
Yeah,
yeah, you do that too.
I'm going to put 2 in your tri-type. I'm putting 2 in your tri-type. Marcia, back to Sanna.
I'm not sure if I can even make a big distinction between the two, but the way I see FI in her is that she actually has this like a value of not upsetting people, and she will go to a lot of trouble and ignore herself sometimes, often, in order to keep the peace.
Yeah, this is why arguably the Kersey ENFP profile is his best profile, because he really gets at that core issue between them getting out of touch with themselves, because they do want to fit in. They want the acceptance and approval, and they can get out of touch with their authenticity because of that. And it's an inner struggle.
Do you agree, Marcia, with what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. but I don't know about you know, this FI concept pretty well because I don't understand. Yeah.
You don't understand what?
I think she said the FI.
Oh yeah. She's also, I think, SX last, so she doesn't see relationships the same way I do.
Yeah,
So
you're very one-to-one.
Hmm?
You're very one-to-one.
Yeah,
Over.
I'm very one-to-one, but she is, I think she's SO, SP.
Yeah. That's going to exaggerate the FE part.
It will, and I think she has a problem sticking to her values. That's what I think it is.
Right.
She has trouble standing up for herself and insisting that people don't overstep her boundaries. She's not good at that, basically.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just going to show the little bit where Kersey wrote about this. It's just a little bit. Hang on a moment. I'll just. 1, 2, 3. Right, we go here. I think it's there. Right, here we go. That bit at the top.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm showing it on screen. No, I'm not. I'll just put it there and I'll read this out for the audience. Also, they can never quite shake the feeling that a part of themselves is split off, uninvolved in their experience. Thus, while they strive for emotional intensity, champions, that's the ENFP, often see themselves in some danger of losing touch with their real feelings. And then there's a bit here. And again, here with the social adaptation block, fiercely independent, repudiating any kind of subordination, either in themselves or in others in relation to them. That is a big part of Victor's profile, his long form profile. Here we go. ENFPs strive towards a kind of spontaneous personal authenticity, intention always to be themselves. Here we go. All too often, however, they fall short in their efforts to be authentic, and they tend to heap coals of fire on themselves for the slightest self-conscious role playing. So, and then there's a bit here on the FE usage. In their probing way, so basically it means like just the perceiver way. Champions exercise a continuous scanning of the social environment, and no suspect motive, I corrected the grammar, is likely to escape their attention. Far more than the other NFs, ENFPs are the keen and penetrating observers of the people around them and are capable of intense concentration on another individual. Their attention is never passive or casual, never wandering, but always directed. In fact, seeing life as an exciting drama, pregnant with possibilities for good and evil, champions tend to be hypersensitive and hyper-alert, always ready for emergencies, EP temperament, mindset rather, and because of this, they may suffer from muscle tension. A bit of SI there. So Kersey had that sort of theme there when he was writing his holistic profile. So did those things ring true for you, Marcia?
The thing is that I lost my connection, so I was
not. Oh no!
But
Sanna, can you summarize, please?
but I think the part that I was listening to was not. I apologize. So I ran out of my connection from my just put back my computer.
Right, you're back on the traditional one. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
yeah, I'll read through it again. Yeah, I'll let you read that. If you read this bit here that I've sort of put in a sort of squared off a sort of outline. So this bit that starts also.
the thing is that I cannot relate a lot with this because sometimes I get confused of my feelings. So when it says that you lost touch with your real feelings, actually I don't know what are my feelings. I don't know if I explain myself a lot.
Yeah, I think that can be part of the EP mindset of just being an SE or an NE Dom, where it's flexible. It's partly the situation, and they're not as in touch with their feelings as, say, FINE, as EII, as INFP is.
I think, Marcia, I think your recent trouble, you know what I mean, with people.
Yes.
Could be related to you not being aware of how you really feel. So you just kind of go with what's available, what you can see, because you don't know what you actually want.
And that is a feature, that is a theme of Enneagram Type 7, is like repressing feelings or reframing them, giving them a positive spin.
Yeah, I don't suffer from that. And I'm always telling Marcia, kind of like trying to get her to see this stuff. It's been a theme ever since we got to know each other.
Well, what we can do, Marcia, is in a separate hangout in future, we can go through the Kersey ENFP profile. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, sure, because I need to understand. Okay, wonderful.
And I can send you the profile. Well, I can send the profile to Sanna, and then she can send it to you, and sort of like you can read through it on your own and really think about it, because there's a lot of good stuff in that Kersey profile. I think it's his best one.
Shall we move on? Because
yes. Right. So should we move on from these feeling functions?
I think I said everything I can think of.
Yeah. And you just said you don't know about your feelings, so I'll move on. I will move on. Hopefully I'm clicked on the correct square. What have we got here? Right. Yeah, so if you click on my square, Marcia, it will just stick on these things. So Sanna, you're a Socionics purist. Are you happy with these words?
Oh, I remember last time I completely forgot, but I think last time I pointed out I don't know what artifice means, and I still don't remember.
Oh, right. Artifice, it's like a surface, a bit like a facade.
Oh, facade.
We'll have a look in the dictionary.
Yeah, I was just Googling it.
Don't go for definitions.
It's for me.
That might be the TI break.
Oh, you got a proper dictionary. What amazing.
Okay.
And it's got stitched binding as well.
Wow.
I hate it when books don't have stitched binding in the flipping things fall apart. I want stitched binding. Any people in the book industry listening to this, stitched binding. That's what I want.
So I do think that these are at least send you in the right direction without analyzing every single.
Oh, yeah, this is interesting. This is a bit weird. The clever use of tricks so as to deceive. That's an odd. I mean, that sounds like the kind of thing that Kersey would write about SPs. Clever use of tricks so as to deceive. So
I don't understand how it relates to SR.
Yeah, I know. I think he's not. I think maybe he's thinking. I think he's using the word in
a wrong way.
Yeah, no, maybe in the kind of a surface appeal as an artifice.
I
maybe
think we can. I think we can probably ignore it. And just
okay,
keep
what I'll do in
out there.
future is I will edit it out.
Or figure out what he actually meant when he.
Well, you can ask him. I'm not part of WSS. I refuse to be part of a group that wants to standardize socionics, which basically means that everything that doesn't agree with WSS socionics needs to be standardized away, such as Model G's got to go, DCNH has got to go. It's not standard.
It's not going to happen. So
I just don't like it. I don't like the totalitarianism of that viewpoint.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm okay enough with this descriptions too.
Right then, so Marcia, when you're looking at these words, are you going all weak at the need the way Sanna is when she sees those words for extroverted sensation?
I like a lot the introverted sensation.
Yeah.
Especially, beauty and health, pleasure, relaxation, comfort. The other
Harmony.
Yeah. The extroverted sensation. Some people see me sometimes like this, but that's not the place I like more in this chart.
When do they say that they see you like that?
When I need to get things done for a group of people.
This is a theory I have. So can you give us an example of that? When you said they're getting things done for a group of people, please give us an example.
For example, if like I am in a restaurant, and all the people want to have like a specific sauce, and then they are not, asking for the waitress to get it. I just go and take action and go and ask, please give me that sauce. But if I am by my own and I want the sauce, I will never do that.
Right. So basically, in Kersey terms, you are the advocate for the people who want their sauce. You will be their champion and get the sauce for them.
Champion of the sauce. I mean, that's a very deep.
Well, champion of the people who want the sauce. I will get this. I will be your champion. I will get this sauce for you.
Yes, kind of that. Yeah, but not for me. When I am alone, it's just I kind of behave as I am other person.
So, Marcia, would you be happy doing an Enneagram hangout with me, Sanna, and Jonathan, where we sort of investigate your Enneagram tri-type? Would you be happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy. I am in the process of, development. So, okay, wonderful.
Yeah, because I think maybe there might be, you have some two-ish themes, I believe. Maybe a tri-type. It might be like 7-2 something. Maybe even 7, or maybe there's a 9 in there because there can be a little bit of overlap. But the
9, 2, and 7.
But the way Sanna talked about it, about the reason why you do certain things, it's almost as if 9 and 2 can do the same FE things, but for different reasons.
Yeah, and a 9 is more withdrawn.
Yeah, I
think 2 is more outgoing about it. It's obvious.
Yeah. Right then. So basically you've said, and so basically you don't prefer those things in extroverted sensation, but you can actually do it when the situation is called upon. So it's like, this is what it's like with the role function in ENFP.
Yeah.
Right then. So in summary, did we get it? So Sanna, when we went through the so your preferences for the perceiving functions are quite clear. Sanna, in summary, was it quite close on the judging functions for Marcia?
Well, I think she's clearly NF. Everything I know
Yeah.
about her is she's NF.
Right.
So I don't see her as ILE.
Right. Okay. So basically, if we're typing or using the Socionics method, we can, like, in terms of combining mindset and club, we would say EP and NF, therefore ENFP.
Yeah, well, that's... You don't want to be NFP.
No, I don't want to be.
Yeah, but there are super ENFPs out there who have their stuff together because they have the developed TE. I'm frequently coming across them, and maybe it's because they're the ones smart enough to understand Model G and stuff that I keep coming across the smart ones.
Okay, to understand more this. Yeah, because I got. Yeah, this is very confusing to me now.
I think the one we need to look at some point is the NETI thing.
Yeah, but there's not much. You'd have to look closely into a history about to see if to detect any kind of FI break.
I don't think she's FI break.
Yeah.
It's not because she can't see it. It's because she doesn't hold her. I mean, she doesn't stand up for herself.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
ENTPs do stand up for themselves.
I have Sanna for that.
Yeah, and plus also that would be, you would go from temperaments, you would go from NF to NT, and you're just a well-developed person. You just got well-developed TE, Marcia.
Well-developed.
Extroverted thinking, practical thinking, scientific thinking, empirical thinking. You've developed that.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, I think I can be good with that. But it's like I change when I am at work. Of course, I will be more in one way that it's not the way that I am like in the house.
Yeah.
I can, in a way, maybe it's because I am individuated.
Yes. Yes, that's the roles we play. I mean, Dario Nardi has talked about how culture, education, and career can have a big effect on. I think he said culture, upbringing, and career can have a big effect. Can leave their mark on the brain.
Yeah, I think also it's this midlife crisis that I think I got it very hard. All these ENF, I don't know, ENFP things that appear, sounds weird, that happened to appear recently.
I think Carol Linden calls it the P-hyphenness. The P preference, the P-hyphenness.
Yeah. So I think it's that. Well, and for the process of individuation, of course, you get some things that are in the unconscious, get it into the conscious, and this is the challenge of this concept. But I like it get the 8 functions, and you can, in a way, have the 8 functions to be used. And yeah,
that's the theory with Socionics. You don't ignore any of them. You use all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I
super cool.
think I'm showing this. I just need to zoom it so that. Yeah.
I can send her the actual file.
Yeah, and I'll just. This is for some of the people, so I can say to people, people who are interested up to this point. This file here, I've gone through this. Well, this has been gone through a lot. We've gone through this with Carol Linden. I think Sanna was in the final hangout. It took about 8 months to get through it all because, you know, ENFP preferences with Carol and stuff happening. So we got through it eventually, and we covered the whole of this profile in 8 hangouts. Then I did it on my own in a coconut shell. So it basically a big nutshell. That's why I called it a coconut shell. And then I've done it in a 16-minute whiteboard video. And also I'm going through with Alicia, I'm going through the full Victor Galenko profile, the holistic profile, which is 7 pages long. And we've done the first half. We'll do the second half soon when Alicia becomes available. So ENFP is a type that, and I think another video I recommend is the one I did yesterday. Jonathan and I did yesterday with Yelena, because we really got into the motivations of her and sort of like looking at the E4 aspect and the E7 aspect. And because she was in the frame of mind to do an Enneagram hangout, and because that concentrates so much on motivation, she was receptive to telling us certain things. So I think that was a good hangout yesterday.
Okay.
All right then. So this is just so people know. So I think, Sanna, I have a direct question for you. Do you think I should end the hangout now?
I think it's a good time.
Right then. So bye-bye, folks, from Marcia.
Oh, we should end now. I would say thank you very much. I think Sanna get like the time correct.
Well, I'm going to stop recording, but we can still chat a little bit afterwards. It's not all just going to go poof and disappear.
I see. So you are saying goodbye for the live.
Yeah. So Marcia, probably ENFP resembler.
Ooh,
Sanna, so in Kersey, diplomatic collaborator, and in Kersey for Sanna, diplomatic contender, very directive, giving orders and directing people for their own good. Me, strategic accommodator, very accommodating for all this contending and collaborating. So I will end right now, and then we'll have a little bit of